All right, I see Lindsay, and it's 10:02, so let's kick it off. Welcome everyone to this webinar on e-commerce challenges for 2023 and beyond. So I have somebody here that I appreciate very much. He was one of the guys that I first did my first webinar with. His name is Greg Zacowikz. He's coming from Omnisend. I'll let him introduce himself, but Greg, welcome, man. Thank you for joining us and giving us a little bit of time to walk us through what you're seeing in the market and e-commerce. So please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely, Eddie. Always a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for your time today, whether you're watching this live or pre-recorded. So, real quick, Greg Zacowikz. I work for Omnisend. I've been doing, especially Omnisend is an email and SMS marketing automation platform built specifically for e-commerce brands. Plug and play integrations with all your major e-com platforms. The reason I say that is because I've been involved in the email marketing world I've added it up last week. I was talking to Eddie about this, 18 years. So almost 2 decades, which is unbelievable to me.
Beginning
SMS
of
for
beginning
probably
of
10
email,
years.
was it, right? Like it was like close to the beginning, maybe, or not so much.
It was a weird time. Our segments were done, like we'd have to send requests to our IT to do MySQL things to get segments going. So it was an interesting time, but believe it or not, cart abandonment emails existed back then. So unbelievable. A lot of them B2B, but they existed back then. They're a lot easier to implement now. So Omnisend, obviously with my email background, Omnisend being the email provider, I will bring hopefully a good depth of email and SMS marketing trends for the audience today.
That's awesome, man. Well, I forgot to introduce myself. Maybe a little bit of the audience knows a little bit about me. I'm Eddie Casado. I'm the well, let me say that again, Eddie Casado, and I am the Senior Growth Marketing Manager at Mouseflow. Been here for 3 years, and I've been managing and helping out with the marketing operation and the growth operation at the company. Special interest in e-commerce. And yeah, I look forward to kicking this off. So let's just start with, what are you seeing in the market? What are the trends today? What data do you have, Greg, on the trends on the market today? So what are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the 2 big things we're seeing, and everyone who is on the line or watching this or listening to it, whatever they're doing, will probably see these same things, right? And I'll take it from a micro level, but we're seeing obviously a massive increase in growth in SMS marketing. And it's been around for a lot of years, small, subtle growth, but it kind of hit a tipping point about 2 years ago. Last year, just accelerated. I'm pulling data right now out of our platform for the first 6 months of this year. It's continued to accelerate even beyond last year as well. So I don't have a lot of slides today. I'm just going to throw one up on the screen here for everyone just to kind of see what that growth looks like. So hopefully you can all see that, but we're looking year over year for SMS marketing and the sends here. And you can see this massive growth kind of 2019 to 2020, close to a 400% growth here. And then on top of that, we just continue to see it. So I know this year so far, April 17th, weird date. You might go, Greg, why'd you choose that date there? I was actually pulling these numbers for a marketing publication. They were looking for SMS data for a story they were doing, and it just happened to be around April 17th, which is why that's there. But the trends are continuing here. So we're already up about 50% year over year this year compared to last. So SMS is this huge thing we're seeing. More brands are adopting it, more consumers. And I think really what that tipping point became was SMS. It's just a ubiquitous channel now, right? It's no longer fits those generational cohort conversations you have. It's only for young people and Gen Zs and millennials. I beg you to tell me someone is not using text, and then we could talk about it. Quick story, last December, visiting my parents, and they're up in Buffalo, New York. I am in North Carolina. So lazy day, we're laying around. My mom, God bless her, I like to say she's old. She's older than I am, which makes her old. But her phone now it dings and chimes anytime anything ever happens. And we're laying around one day and her phone's dinging and then dinging again and then dinging again. But because she's my mom, she reads everything out loud as well.
Okay.
They're all SMS marketing messages. And she is not a tech savvy person. I'd be surprised if she gets email marketing. but she gets SMS marketing. And I just kind of sat there. I'm like, oh man, even she's doing it. So SMS is one of these things where if you're not doing it now, you should absolutely be on it. If you're doing it now, you should look to improve it and look for those opportunities for growth. And one of those things kind of ties into the second big trend that I'm seeing, and that is email marketing, but more so on the automation side. So campaigns, just your scheduled messages still performing well, still kind of going up year over year. You kind of know what email marketing is going to get you for the most part, though. The automation is where we're kind of seeing those interesting trends here. So I got another slide just kind of showing you, this is 2022. We're looking at, I think it was 11 or 12 billion emails. This is looking for across the board. You don't need to study these charts. Really what you're looking at on the left side of the screen there is your campaigns, your conversion rate, which is 0.08% of a scheduled campaign. Doesn't matter the automation below it. They all perform better, right? And that is where, this is where the customer journey kind of fits in, right? These are all messages that are targeted and sent based on user action or inaction. I sign up for an email program. I sign up for an SMS program, right? You can have SMS automation built into there as well. Cart abandonment, browse abandonment for those online Windows shoppers. And this is where we're starting to see it. So you can see on the right side of the screen there, percentage of email marketing orders based on the percentage of email marketing sends. Last year, almost 32% of all email orders across the board came from automated messages, which was less than 2% of total sends. Quick, this is roundabout. I've only got January through May this year. I did the calculation yesterday afternoon. This is close to 45% or so for the first half of this year. So that consistent 29, 30% is actually shot up the first half of this year. We're just seeing a lot more brands adopt the automation, specifically browse abandonment. That was the one that last year, hundreds of percent increase in usage over the year before. So this is where it's kind of a good thing, in my opinion, because if you are strapped from a marketing side, especially email marketing, normally you have people that are doing email, doing 4, 5, 6, 7 other things as well. Time becomes a major issue here. So automations are simple to set up, but they run in the background, right? And they don't need to be perfect from day one. So SMS growth, email marketing automation growth, and performance of email marketing automation, those are the two I'm hammering on that we're seeing year over year, but especially these last 2 years. And I don't see it slowing down at all. So I'll take it from that standpoint. If you guys have any questions on that, obviously throw them in the chat or the questions there. But Eddie, on your side, what are you seeing?
So let me, but before I jump on what I'm seeing, Greg, I think it's important to, and please correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I think that part of the success of the SMS marketing nowadays is the open rates, right? They're like what, 98, 99% open rate for the SMS messages. Do you know by heart what the number is?
Yeah, so this is the tricky part, right? Okay. So you can't actually see open rates for SMS messages. It's not trackable. However, you'll see when people quote those, and I think Omnisend on the blog post has these quoted somewhere. So we're guilty of this as well, right? But there are companies that will run surveys and studies, right? They'll do focus groups and they'll try to get, like you do with normal surveys, they'll try to figure out what the open rate is. It's usually around 98, 99%. What we do know, and you can look at your own behavior, like, do you ever leave an SMS message left unread for any length of time?
Those notification pings are so annoying, like you have to delete them, right?
And how quickly are you reading them, right? They're a lot more immediate than an email, right? I can see an email in 1 minute, I can see it in 12 hours, I might not see it for 2 days. It depends on when that person's checking their email. SMS, usually you're getting it within a few minutes, maybe worst case scenario, an hour if you're in a meeting or something, but it's a lot more immediate, which gives you a lot more opportunities from a marketing perspective, like flash sales and things like that.
Right, and it's making this campaign smart, right? It's not only about doing one-offs and sending emails on, randomly. It's about the personalization, right? That's one of the things that I'm seeing a lot in the market is that we've been, like it's preaching for the past 2 years, personalization, but now it's even more apparent, right? Like customers are very sensitive to getting a mismatch communications, like that will get your unsubscribe rates really high and jumping like crazy. So I think that personalization and that omni-channel experience that you guys are doing is quite important, because it's not only sending an email, it's just how it fits in the journey, right? Making sure that it tackles the customers when they need to be tackled, or when they're expecting to be tackled, correct?
Yeah, the interesting part of that, you touched on the unsubscribes, and this is something rarely anyone talks about when it comes to SMS, is the thing that it's good for email programs to get unsubscribes. You don't want to be sending messages to people that just don't care or are over, right? But as email becomes for some people, it's no longer their jam. It's not the thing that it used to be for them. That's okay. This is where SMS, it's the first party data, first party channel, but maybe SMS is how they want to get communications from you and not email, right? And this is the opportunity where normally if they unsubscribe from email, what are we typically doing, right? We're running Google search retargeting, we're doing Facebook or Instagram or social retargeting, which are a lot more expensive than the cost of sending an email or a couple cents to send an SMS. We've got that first party data. We can still tie purchase history, all those things into it. We can look to see whether they're clicking, but now we've got that first party. We don't necessarily need to spend that money to retarget them on social or search, which can ultimately lower the cost. You could be more targeted with your retargeting ads. So that's the one thing. It kind of replaces those email unsubscribes for some of those people.
Right. Yeah. So you asked me what I'm seeing nowadays from e-commerce right now is a lot of focus on CRO, a lot of focus on efficiency, optimization. It seems like budgets are shrinking, considering the economy, what it is, and what things are happening in the world. So people are starting to get a little bit more scrappy, I would say, and there's a lot of focus on CRO. A lot of focus in conversion rate optimization, making sure that experimenting, doing A/B testing, making sure that money, that advertising spend that you're making is actually stretched fairly, so that you can get more return for every dollar spent. And the other thing that it's coming up actually is detecting a lot of friction. People are coming up to us asking us like, so I want to detect friction. I want to know what's going on, what's preventing our users, right? And we're going a little bit beyond just like tracking from point A to point B, but what's happening in between. And I'm not saying this because it's Mouseflow. I'm saying this because it's an actual thing that people are looking and looking for our product to solve, right? Sometimes, getting false positives, that's something very common that people are looking into now with the change to Google Analytics 4. A lot of people are looking for these alternatives, right? And then it's important to understand that whilst you still need the traditional analytics stack, you also need to get a little bit more visibility into what users are experiencing. There is a funny website, I'll share it with the audience, that kind of exemplifies what is going on when a user gets into a website, right? You get the cookies, and you get then the next offer, and then the chat message, and then the live. It becomes so blurry for the users to actually get to where they want to go, and especially they are focusing a lot on the product page. That's what people are doing today. They are focusing on the product page because at the end, that's the money page, right? That's where they want to optimize. That's where they want to convert people. So they're working. I'm calling it the bottom up strategy, which is not uncommon for marketers, especially for those of us that do PPC and performance marketing. They're focusing on the bottom of the funnel, essentially the product page, the checkout flow, and these things, and they're trying to hash out all friction points, making sure that there are no JavaScript errors, making sure that there are no click rate events, and then if they are, there may be a reason for it, and designing new experiences that cater to this specific behavior for the users. So that's what I'm seeing on my side, on e-commerce, just that increased focus on efficiency. Right. And you may say, Eddie, but that's something that, like it's always, I don't have a lot of money to waste. I've always been focused on efficiency. Yeah, that's right. But right now I feel, and from what I see in the market, is that it's even more controlled, and it's even more, I would say, I'm not going to say standardized. That's not the right word, but rationalized, maybe. It's something that they're doing consciously. It's not like, oh yeah, we're going to do an A/B test to see what happens. No, now there's a path, there is a plan, there is a roadmap for testing. So that's what I'm seeing. It's more serious, more mature CRO approach to e-commerce and figuring out these things on the product page and the checkout flow.
So one of the things I was going to ask you is you were talking about CRO. Is what does that kind of look like in a real life application to you? So what I mean by that is, this is probably 5 years ago. I was talking to one of the founders of Pura Vida bracelets, right? Younger demographic there. And they were redesigning their website. They're like, listen, we got to make it more like Instagram, like social, where people can scroll. It's kind of one lane, right? There's one column, and they're doing things like that. That was purely a CRO attempt, right? They're trying to optimize engagement, optimize time on page, and optimize clicks, driving to that product. And what are the shifts that you're kind of seeing behind these best practices for web design or product pages that you kind of see people shifting to a little bit more?
So one of the, like, for example, the scale of the experiments play a big role into the speed. And I was having a conversation recently with our webinar panelist yesterday, Martin Bogdahl from Optimizely, and he was sharing that it's not about the success of the experiments. Right now, the measure for success of a CRO program or an experimentation program at any company is how many experiments do you actually launch. So you can see the shift in maturity is not about the result, it's about how many experiments and how fast you can learn. So that's one of the biggest things that I've seen right now on e-commerce today is that maturity, right? It's not, oh, like I want to increase sales. We all want to do that, right? But it's about how many experiments you can launch within a time frame so you can learn more and be more effective. And then the other thing is that they're looking a lot about micro interactions. That's the other thing that they're looking at right now. It's about improving the click-through rate from point A to point B. Is not about improving, oh, I'm going to change the color of the checkout flow so that I can get more conversions. It's more about, okay, designing this carefully crafted journey from point A to point B. I'll give you one example. There was a client that was running a CRO experiment, and interesting was that, okay, so I want to drive, more people to the product page for X, right? And instead of focusing on, okay, I need to change the color of the button, I need to change this, he already painted what the journey was. So how do they need to get there? What is the first thing they need to do? The first thing they need to do is they need to click more on the button to get there. So he focused on that and designed 3 experiments. Okay, I want to change the label, I want to change the color, I want to make a call out, and then creating a roadmap. So part of what I'm seeing is that mechanic, that maturity of creating a roadmap of experiments and making sure that these things are focused to the micro interaction and not so much to the macro interaction, which is increasing sales, right? In that case, where people will flock to, the big items, the banner with the discount and all of these things. It's just about the little details that I'm seeing right now. I don't know if that answers your question. I kind of took the long road.
No, it does. I'm always taking the long road, so
That's fine. That's
works
why
for
we're
us.
kin spirits here. So yeah, so I think that we are good to jump onto, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Greg, is that I don't want to say it too loud, but we could say that we're officially kind of over the hump after COVID, right? Like it's some sense of normalcy is starting to set in, I would say, in the market, right? Even though, we got inflation and all these things happening around us. But post-COVID, we are what, maybe a year and a half or so? I don't know. It seems like I lost 3 years when COVID happened. So my dates, right? So what are you seeing? What is the post-COVID behavior? How do you define it?
So it's funny because we kind of went right into things kind of normalizing, as you said, and now we're in this kind of high inflation, but kind of at least in the States, kind of recession, kind of not recession. We're not really sure which side the teeter is going to fall on here. I look at my own self and I go, I think we're in a recession personally, right? But is it impacting my spend? And that's really what e-commerce brands and retailers want to know. Is it impacting spend? And yeah, we see it impacting spend a little bit, but from an e-com side, not too much. And I think the one thing where COVID gave us lessons to apply beyond a pandemic is, let me pull up a slide here, is how we appeal to people in our marketing and how we, want to lay things out for them. So here's some stats report last year. I'm sifting through the first half. Verticals was doing about an hour and a half ago, so we're not done yet. But I expect things to be very similar here. You see the campaigns across the board, mentioned 0.08 conversion rate across the board in 2022. From the industry verticals, you can see the top 5 I have listed here. And the one thing you kind of see with all these are that they have a sense of like personal enjoyment to them, right? So, tobacco and cannabis might not be the healthiest for you, but there's a personal enjoyment there. I'm not going to tell people they're not happy when there's, enjoying some cannabis or tobacco as their vice, right? That's their vice.
Up to them.
These are things, right? So, food and beverage, again, it's things like, I don't know if Prime is like counter for this thing because people love, Logan or whatever, but like these are things that bring people joy. And that's the one thing we kept hearing out of COVID is people were looking to take trips, right? We're kind of seeing that revenge spending kind of set back and calm down a little bit now. But these are things where people are focusing on themselves a little bit more. And I think this is a trend that will continue across the board. And even if it does begin to normalize a little bit, I think there's a lot here we can take to our own marketing, whether it's website, SMS, email. What I mean by that specifically is think about those value adds as a company that you want to promote to people to make them feel good about the purchase, whether they're in a pet supply category or they're in fashion apparel, right? The things that you can promote actively are, free shipping, speed of shipping if it's quick, right? Quicker I get something, the happier I am. Whatever satisfaction guarantees, return policies, these are all
Hassle-free
things
return, exactly.
which I think that's a whole topic for a different conversation, but the trends we're seeing from return policies, and I think that's something that's going to throw a lot of people in a bit of a havoc. But these are things that you can apply that goodwill nature, whether it's goodwill or just good customer first policies, put it in your marketing. Think about your welcome messaging where people sign up for an email, most likely because they're going to purchase a product, whether from you or someone else, right? We want to hammer on the social proofs, the 5-star reviews, the things that make people feel comfortable buying. Mention those return policies. Shopping cart abandonment, same thing, right? Split those based on whether they hit the free shipping threshold, remind them about return policies or how things fit, right? Show some product reviews about the customer service or about how great the things fit or the quality of the products. And these are things that make people feel comfortable buying. These are things that these industries generally do really well, especially health and wellness, beauty and cosmetics, fierce competition on there, right? And these are things that they're doing really well at. So, some of your lower performing verticals from an email side are the ones with really high competition outside of health and wellness, but fashion apparel, right? We can kind of find the same thing anywhere, similar things, and there's a lot of things there. But if you're selling those products, I think the thing to lean on is use that social proof, use those good nature things and apply them to your marketing. So, look at the personal enjoyment, whether it's you're selling coffins, which is a running joke inside of Omnisend now. We always, on the podcast we always talk about sending coffin emails, right? Whatever you're selling, there is an enjoyment to that. You just need to find what that enjoyment is, right, and then hammer it home.
Right. And I think that's consistent with what I'm seeing right now as well. That personal enjoyment kind of, new priorities, enhanced consciousness in customers, right? They're selective in what they're purchasing right now, and a lot of the movement I'm seeing is towards brands that actually are invested in building relationships and they're becoming creative about building this relationship. It's not so much about the transactional anymore, but maybe evangelizing the brand a little bit further, not necessarily pushing and gushing, the discounts and things down customers' throats, but actually caring about the customer and the relationship, the reason why they're there, and giving them a purpose, the purpose of being here, or the reason why you're here, or maybe that enhanced consciousness that I'm sharing, on selecting what to purchase and feeling related to the brand somehow, which goes in tune with the data that you're showing. So I think that's right on the money, as they'd say.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm definitely seeing across the board, and I'm signed up. I obviously can't read them all, but over the years, I've got a Gmail account just for marketing emails, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting about 350, 400 a day from brands. But the one thing I've been this is an observational piece of data, but one thing I've been noticing for the last probably 3-4 months, a massive increase in people using that social proof, specifically like 5-star reviewed products, customer testimonials, whether it's text-based or image-based inside their emails, secondary or tertiary content, right? Those things in there. And I'm seeing across the board like you show the 5-star emojis in the subject line for a cart abandonment email, right? Things like this. And I'm seeing not a massive uptick, but a pretty significant uptick where I noticed it right off the board. But I love it. I think those things are awesome.
That's a very
interesting
trick. Yeah, that's a very interesting trick. Having like the stars on the subject line. I've never thought of that one. That's a good one. Good CRO. Good CRO experiment right there. Might add that to our checklist.
It's great for guiding people that might not know what they want to buy too, right? You think about welcome series or cart browse or browse abandonment or product abandonment, right? Those those obstacles to conversion, we want to overcome those. And that's one of those ways to overcome them.
Of course, of course. Listen, time goes by really fast when you're having fun, and we're nearing the 3-minute mark for our webinar. So I hope that you can stick around and we can finish off those topics, which I think are going to get more interesting right now. And I hope the guys and people on the audience can also stick around, because now we're going to jump into the Amazons of the world and how to actually beat them, live with them, survive them, however you want to call it. So what is your take on this, Greg?
So we got 2 long-winded guys here. I'm going to try to be short, and I'm going to kick it back
try
to
it.
you on this one.
Let's try it. Yeah.
I'm going to go with things I've already mentioned. And I think this is where everyone who sells on Amazon kind of feels this. And I think they've made a lot of companies, and even Amazon recognizes this, and they're trying to make strides with first-party data, right? You want to own that customer relationship. That's what it's about. So, this, again, I just mentioned promoting return and shipping policies, right? If you have the same thing similar to Amazon, this is where you can come in there. If everything ships within 24 hours out of your warehouse, promote that in your messaging. I've seen an uptick in that as well. I think I did a video on YouTube about this, but I saw an article a couple months ago saying the speed of shipping is now just as important, just as important as the cost of shipping, the free shipping for customers now. And that speed is kind of coming up there as well. So these value adds around shipping speed, the same things that Amazon offers, try to replicate that as best possible. It doesn't mean you have to have a $35 free shipping threshold or, a membership program for non-members, but this is where those value adds come into play. That first party data, grow the SMS list. So if they opt out of the email, again, you have them. If you have the opportunity to do the pay with Amazon, right, you're obviously doing FBA with them if you're doing that. So you've got a sunk cost in there, but that might be a way to kind of control that first party data. But try to get that first party data as much as possible. Email, SMS are 2 perfect ways to do that. Try to tie that in, and use the tools. But it's all about trying to own that data and own that customer where you can.
Absolutely. And in the spirit of being short, I cannot agree with you more. I would say though that it's just not about beating them as much as it is surviving them and living with them. And in reality, what I'm seeing in e-commerce today, the effective ones, the successful ones, are the ones that are leveraging Amazon as what it is, another storefront, right? And they're leveraging them as positioning, as brand awareness, making sure that they're getting keywords out of Amazon to optimize their PPC spend and their campaigns. So there is a way to live with them and also reap the benefits from them, because in reality, the truth is that the market is there. People go to Amazon for commodity, and if you're not there, you're kind of missing out. But you have to be smart about leveraging this Amazon traffic, right? I see just recently I purchased something here in Madrid, and I got a message from the vendor actually asking me if everything was going well, if I had any questions about the product. So they're starting to establish that relationship directly with the consumer just to get that first party data, because that's what's going to get them to actually reap increases lifetime value of the customer lifetime value of any e-commerce, because once you got them and they're already purchased, if you establish that relationship, they're more likely to go to your storefront next time. So I think that's consistent and true what you're saying. And like I said, in the spirit of moving on, I'm just gonna go up to repeat purchases, which is another hot topic. A lot of them, going back to your question about CRO, and a lot of the focus is coming on to repeat purchase rate, increasing that repeat purchase rate, again, to gain that efficiency. So what do you have to share about, in terms of post-purchase, email, SMS, series? What do you have there?
Yeah, I think the low-hanging fruit here is one, SMS. Like I get them all the time now when I'm buying. I'm sure most people do, but SMS for when orders are placed, right? Order confirmations, shipping confirmations, even order deliveries, things like that. If you can optimize those, or at least add them in there, it just adds to the customer experience. You don't have to have these crazy complex MMS messages and stuff. Basic reminders there from an SMS standpoint. From a transactional, that is. Now, what I would say, and I've been talking about this at conferences for 8 years, maybe more, post-purchase messaging from the email side. I think this is something that is growing in adoption, It's completely underutilized, but it can be so impactful for you. And one, it could be impactful for you from a sales standpoint, both immediate and down the road, but it's all about that customer experience, right? And the purchase experience with them. So think about, I'll give you an example. Over COVID, I'm not a chef. I can cook, definitely not a pizza chef, right? Over COVID, I've got 2 kids at home. We like to cook on Fridays. We either order out or we do something unique. So I bought a baking steel. It's like a pizza stone, but it is steel. It is heavy. Cook a pizza in like 4 or 5 minutes on this thing.
Nice.
I have never made a pizza in my life. I don't know the first thing about
Okay.
it, but I bought one. Post-purchase experience. What do? They send me a message. It's like, hey, thanks for your purchase. Here are our top recipes for a 72-hour pizza dough, right? And a dessert thing. They're sending me messages not to try to sell me something, but to enhance my experience, to increase my product adoption, ways I can use it. And now I know they have recipes on the website. So I'm going to constantly go back to the website and look for recipes on there, they do have other products. They have Appeal, right? Which I also have. Thank you, add-on purchase, right? To get the pizza off there. They have griddles as well. You could do soft cross sells on there, but it's all about improving the purchase experience for me. And you can add SMS to these messages as well. Same automation, balance out between who's subscribing and not. SMS, easy to drive them there. 72-hour pizza dough. Check it out right here, right? But think about what works for your brand here. It could be how-to tips. So did you buy a suit or a nice nice thing of apparel where maybe there's unique washing instructions? You bought some lingerie. How about lingerie, selling a lingerie bag with lingerie wash and proper washing instructions, waterproofing for boots. I mean, whatever it is, you have a complex product, how-tos, right? Hey, 5 tips for
they
XYZ.
never fail. You're right. Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah.
So, you don't need 12 messages going there. It could be as simple as 2 messages, maybe 3, based on your product and what you're trying to sell there. But if you can put some product recommendations in there, doesn't have to be hard sell, but these things are awesome for a purchase experience. Now, what am I doing? I'm on a webinar telling you about a baking steel, right?
Exactly,
And 72-hour pizza dough. It enhances the customer experience. I also bought a couple of these as gifts because I love the experience so much.
There you go.
Didn't buy the griddle for myself. It's not that add-on for me. They got me on the peel, but I've gifted them.
You're still on time. Maybe it's time to get it. I don't know. It's time
maybe
to get
so. Well, I'm waiting for my other griddle to kick in, and then maybe I will. But right. So all they know is I bought 4 baking steels in the past, and 3 of them were for gifts, right? So that's that repeat purchase, but I'm still talking about it. I love it.
Yeah. No, I think it's about enhancing that experience. Again, I wish that we could go on this topics, but we're a little bit out of time. Over time, we have one question from Michael, but I did want to ask you before we jump in. What is the first thing? And I want to leave this with the audience. What is the first for an e-commerce that is not leveraging SMS today, right? What is the first thing they need to do?
Yeah, collect mobile numbers. So if you've got a pop-up, most brands have a pop-up asking for email sign up on there. Ask for SMS as well, right? If they don't want to give it to you, they don't have to give it to you. They want to give it to you. That's them saying, yep, I like this channel, right? And that's the thing.
And
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what do you think about that tactic of, I'm going to give you a discount, give me the email, but after then they ask you for your phone number to finally give you the discount or the coupon code?
Hate it.
Okay.
So I'm okay.
I hate it too, but I wanted to check if maybe that's the thing that everybody does, but I just wanted to get your take on this.
So I'm okay with the 2-step form, right? Email first. Thanks for submitting, signing up. Would you also like to join it here? I would not make, unless you're specifically saying you need to sign up for both right away to get the discount. It turns me off so much. I did a podcast episode about this like 3 weeks ago. Right?
I know, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. So you're on this, right? It's a pet peeve. It sets me off. No, I think it's we talk about customer experience. I think it's a bad customer experience.
Yeah, right? I agree.
And I think that's what it comes down to.
It's just tricking the customers. Absolutely.
Yeah. So ask for SMS. If they sign up for it, that's your indication. And if you're not sure, if you're not even doing SMS and you're not sure whether your audience is going to respond to it, right? All demographics will do it, but some products maybe are not better suited for it.
Yeah.
Ask for it. And if they don't sign up, that is your indication to say, hey, not like our product or customer fit, it's just not in for it. But let them tell you, right? And And I tell people as well, just because you ask for it right now does not mean you have to have your automated, like your welcome SMS automation in place. Collect the numbers now, see how it goes, and you can slowly launch into it. I mean, we're coming up on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that holiday shopping period. SMS during that period is skyrocketing, especially on those days where the inbox volume is highly increased, right? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Thanksgiving Day, pretty much that whole Cyber 10. It's a good way to cut through that clutter a little bit. My phone blows up on these days, but these are things that they're increasing, especially so on these days. Good way to cut through that clutter.
Yeah, of course, of course. So let me jump into Michael's question. He's asking, do SMS spam blockers have a measurable impact on the deliverability rates of SMS marketing? That's a mouthful.
That's a great question. Right now, we are not seeing that. So I think there's a couple things. I'll try to make this super quick to kind of keep us in. One, the carriers are coming down a little harder. You might not know it based on the amount of political and spam messages you get on your phone. I get them all the time. Drives me nuts. I know overseas it's a bigger issue for some countries over than others. However, carriers, at least in the States, are well aware of this. They know it for a couple of years now, about 2 years. You have the ability in your settings, if you have an iPhone, to have 2 different folders, one for contacts, one for unknown contacts, right? I turned it on for a while because I'm like, oh, I'm going to check this out. It kind of drove me crazy because I'm like, now I got to navigate to my unknown. I'd rather just have everything there.
Right.
But now you see it when you delete it, right? Delete and report junk. Right now, they're not really doing anything with, you could report it as junk. It doesn't really do anything. Grand scheme. So if you're a legit sender, we're not seeing this. Now, I do think, Michael, in 2 to 3 years, and it's just a kind of a gut feel time of mine, I think we're going to have a little more of a deliverability conversation when it comes to SMS because of the adoption, because we understand that this is a major thing and people don't like getting the junk. They don't like these spam messages. Carriers don't like pushing spam messages through their customers either. So
and we're seeing that, that increased sensitivity to, compliance and privacy. So I would say that they would go hand in hand at some point in the States as they continue to for this SMS campaigns to be more ubiquitous around all e-commerces, right?
Yeah, but we've got to go through a verification process with the phone numbers that we use to send out as well. Other ESPs have to do the same thing. So we're going through processes to kind of like safe sender our own brands as well. And then if there's a bad actor in there, you just kind of shut them down. But there's always going to be a bad actor somewhere. But right now, we're not. The short answer is we're not seeing that. But I think this will be a conversation probably 2 to 3 years from now.
Good. Well, Greg, man, it's been amazing as always talking to you. I really appreciate your time and taking the time to talk to the audience about, what we're seeing on e-commerce for 2023 and beyond. Maybe you want to take a guess on what else can we expect in the 2024? Anything that you think might be, want to bet?
I think the debate is going to rage about free shipping, not less so free shipping, but free returns, right? And how that unfolds. I think we're getting to the point where free returns is kind of on the backside. Like, I think it's starting to go out. It might be $1 return, but we're already seeing brands charge for not only restocking fees, but packing fees, right? I think Fans Edge or whatever they're called now, they have like $1 or something like packing fee for just to ship the things. And I think that's a attempt to eat into those returns because obviously clothing, right? We get high return rates. We're seeing it with Amazon. Like Amazon knows it hurts them now, right? To a degree. So we're seeing them charge based on proximity, and they're trying to put like highly returned products on there. They're trying to reduce that over.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the 2024 battleground is what happens with
returns,
and customers aren't going to like it. I don't like it because I like free returns, but I think we're
that's where the market is heading. I agree. Absolutely agree. Well, you heard it first here from Greg, not me, just in case. But again, man, thank you so much for spending time with us and for walking us through this material. I hope to host you again one day. And thank you everybody for joining. And yeah, that's it. That's a wrap. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Right.